In just minutes, a new era of Bears football will begin with their first overall draft pick. But should they have moved on from Justin Fields? Is this roster ready to succeed with a rookie quarterback? Are they taking Caleb Williams first overall?
I think everyone's got to tune in on Thursday to watch and but I feel really good about our process and where we are.
We've got it all covered. Your 13 Sports Authority draft show starts now. Welcome into our 13 WREX draft show. I am Eric Graver. He is Derek Bain. Josh Schumann is working alongside as well to go over everything you need to know for a huge draft for the Chicago Bears, who are getting ready to make their first overall pick. Derek?
This is the moment months in the making. Ever since the Carolina Panthers clinched the worst record in the NFL, the Bears, of course, traded with them last year. Got their draft pick for this year, and it worked out in the Bears' favor, I'd say.
It really has been just the offseason of the Bears. They've been the kings of the offseason. Everyone's really known what they're going to do with this first overall pick, but they have 2 top 10 picks. Just really exciting time for the Bears, bringing in tons of talent and a roster that's really ready to succeed with a young QB.
Yeah, this is a time for the Bears to compete. It's kind of the end of the rebuild. It's time for them to take that next step. And become what people think should be a playoff contending team, at least a team to make a playoffs, which they haven't done in a couple of years now.
And a lot of Bears fans did think that this could still be a playoff roster with Justin Fields as the quarterback, a guy that a lot of Bears fans did want to see stick around. We're going to bring in Josh Schumann now to go over what happened with Justin Fields, why the Bears decided to move on from a quarterback that did show some promise, Josh.
Yeah, guys, things look positive for the Chicago Bears. Trading Justin Fields still leaves a sour taste for some fans, including me, but, I'm not mad at the current situation that they're in. In fact, I look forward to it, but let's take a step back to address why that trade happened.
It didn't come as a shock to Bears fans when Fields got traded, but for some, more of a shot in the heart. And it certainly wasn't an easy decision for the man making the moves.
Justin Fields making magic happen.
Justin, probably one of the harder things I had to do. I know, I always kind of touch on the empathy part. Like having that conversation with my own son was hard. His jersey's up in his room, so it kind of puts that into perspective of how difficult those moves are.
It's hard to move on from a player that gave hope. A player that showed amazing potential making remarkable plays. Plays that reminded us of young Chicago superstars of the past. The surrounding talent just wasn't there, nor was the consistency. And through all that, a leader still emerged. One good enough to make the locker room react like this to the news.
DJ's quote there, it's, business is a business or something like that. I think they understand that there is a business part to it. And it's not something where just because you trade someone doesn't mean you don't like them or don't appreciate them. They understood that we thought that was the best move for where we're at.
Bears management recognized this and let their leaders know before it happened.
Upfront and honest with those guys, and they appreciated that. Every guy that I talked to said, "Coach, I really appreciate you reaching out and let me know ahead of time," and so that was it.
That clears up one of the main arguments for keeping Fields, but you still might ask why, when everyone considered him to be so positive for the team. Like Poles said, business is business, and at the end of the day, that's what the NFL is. The timing just didn't match up.
In terms of the game, I feel like he was making strides and improving. The problem is, and it's really, and that's what I try to explain, it wasn't Justin versus one of these rookies, it's really the timeline and how much runway that you have, because really to get a guy up off the ground, you need to support him with as much talent as possible. And then that flips, because then they take so much cap space, which is a good thing if you get to that point, but then they have to be the reason you start winning. So then it's harder to add the talent, around them.
Why risk a chance of another bad year and needing to extend him after his rookie contract with a larger amount of money? We've seen how it's affected some teams, so resetting the quarterback clock became the best option, leaving the Steelers a chance to try and truly bring out his potential, something the Bears could never do.
Oh my gosh, man, he oozes talent and potential. He's worn the responsibility of being a franchise quarterback, but still he gets an opportunity to come into a community-like situation and learn from a guy that's been doing it for over a decade. Man, there's a lot of meat left on that bone, man. I'm just excited about worker to be a part of extracting it.
So there it is, a decision with the potential of going down in sports history. Could it be a giant mark on Ryan Poles' time with the Bears? Or a stroke of brilliance with bringing in one of the most exciting quarterback prospects in some time? Whichever way it goes, this is why the topic became the hottest debate of the NFL offseason.
Well, Josh, I know it was hard for you to put that together, that story. I know you were a big Justin Fields guy like yourself, and Derek, I know you were a big fan along the way with him and all the flash plays he made. But Josh, I mean, tell me about where you stand right now on this Bears quarterback situation, having to move on from a guy as promising as Fields, but someone even more promising waiting in the wings in this draft.
Yeah, certainly you can't be mad at the situation they're in. The roster's stacked and it's going well, but I think the thing that I run into problems with is it just hurts. You know, you have somebody that works really hard for your favorite team, for a city that really loves hard workers as well. And, you know, he just never really had the supporting cast around him, and he wasn't given, 100% of a chance to maximize his opportunities with Chicago. So just like the package says, business is business, and at the end of the day, that's what the NFL is. And overall, just a hard decision, but one that the Bears needed to make.
I mean, he wasn't as consistent as he needed to be. I mean, there's probably a reason he wasn't a top 10 pick, whatever it was 3-4 years ago now. And the Bears have that number 1 overall pick, and they get to pick whoever they want. Likely to be, someone that we've been talking about for quite some time now. But, Fields, like Ryan Poles said, I mean, he's got a kid with his jersey. I've got a kid with his jersey.
I've got his jersey
as well.
Yeah, my son Julian was upset when I told him that the Bears were probably going to be moving on from Fields, and then when it happened, he was definitely disappointed. But we'll see if we can get him maybe a new jersey for the upcoming season.
Well, and as a quick thing, too, as a Giants fan like myself, I noticed a little dig at Daniel Jones there, but that is a situation as a NFL team you don't want to find yourself in, where you see just a little bit of potential, so you extend this young quarterback, and then it does not turn out well, just like the Giants situation. They're desperate for a quarterback in this draft, and they're probably not going to be able to get the one they want, which is Drake May, and that happens to a lot of teams, but the Bears are set up in a position to get their guy, and it's a generational prospect.
Yeah, and it's been, a couple generations since the Bears have had someone like this, right, Josh?
Yeah, so, as we venture into what should be a new quarterback era in the long franchise history of the Chicago Bears, just around 104 years, and still no man under center has ever thrown for 4,000 yards in the Navy and Orange. This makes them the only franchise in NFL history that hasn't had a quarterback do this. To put it in further perspective, the 31st team to accomplish this was the Tampa Bay Bucks in 2012 with Josh Freeman. Yeah, not the most memorable quarterback in league history. Many have accomplished this feat, but the Bears still lag behind. The closest Chicago's ever got is Eric Kramer in 1995 at 3,838 yards. Then good old Jay Cutler in 2014 with 3,812. Mitch Trubisky, Rex Grossman, Billy Wade, and Jim Harbaugh round out the very bleak list. Maybe this year is the year the Bears finally catch up to the league in this depressing stat. And could the guy from Southern California be the Bears' knight in shining armor?
Exactly, Josh. And, well, it was a tough decision for the Bears, moving on from Justin Fields after he showed flashes over the past couple of years. Many predict that Williams will make it look like a very easy decision down the line. So let's take a look at why the Bears decided to go in this new direction.
I came away with the totality of studying him, thinking this guy has got some rare ability, man.
Oh, look at that sidearm sling, huh?
He has got an unbelievable amount of horsepower in terms of how he can generate velocity with his arm, what he can do with the force with his legs, the creativity we all know about.
High praise for one of the best QB prospects we've seen in years. Caleb Williams will soon be in a Bears jersey, bringing ability that we haven't seen from a Bears QB. Many analysts agree the biggest flaw is his ability to work within the pocket, but when you can make plays like this,
he sees green grass in the corner, busted coverage, touchdown.
The sky is the limit.
He is, to me, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, in terms of ability, is the closest thing to Patrick Mahomes we've seen. He's got unbelievable arm talent. I mean, I'm talking arm strength from different angles, from different platforms, the creativity.
It's easy to see why he's up there as one of the highest rated QB prospects we've seen since Trevor Lawrence and Andrew Luck, and he's done nothing but impress off the field as well.
Came across as a really good teammate, easy to talk to, down to earth. We've talked through this process about he's He's all ball, wants to work, wants to get better, wants to win as a team. That's the number one thing for him.
The pieces have come together perfectly for both the Bears and the USC star QB.
This is one of the more physically gifted and talented players at the position we've seen in a while, and some assembly is required, and he's going to need to go to the right place and get developed.
He'll be in a great situation to develop into a star NFL quarterback. The Bears have assembled a roster full of talent that often isn't waiting for first overall quarterbacks.
It does put a smile on your face in terms of the work that we've done. Like, I feel like we've done a good job getting the roster where it is. It's something to be proud of, but at the same time, you know, the job's not done. You got to play and you got to win games in this league. That's what it comes down to.
And Ryan Poles really should be happy with the work that he's done with this roster that's waiting for Caleb Williams. Let's take a look at some of the quarterbacks that were drafted first overall in recent years and compare it to the rosters they had, starting with Trevor Lawrence back in 2021. This is a team that had won just one game the previous year before they had taken the Clemson QB. He did have running back James Robinson coming off of that great rookie season he had where he had over 1,000 yards. But then you have DJ Chark and Marvin Jones Jr. These are two guys that have not been wide receiver ones since this season. And James O'Shaughnessy, the tight end, is not even in the league currently right now, still a free agent. So this was a struggle for Trevor Lawrence in this year. Really difficult to work with that roster that had won just one game that previous year. And we have seen the same thing in 2023 with the Panthers and Bryce Young. Panthers got Bryce Young in that trade that they made with the Bears, and that's how the Bears are drafting first overall this year. But this is what Bryce Young was working with. Miles Sanders at running back. And Adam Thielen, we've seen how great of a career he had with the Vikings, but he is in the very late stages of his professional career as a receiver. A wide receiver one, Terrace Marshall, an unproven player. And if you go over to this Bears roster now, here is what is waiting for Caleb Williams. You have DeAndre Swift, who is a running back with the Eagles last year. He had over 1,000 yards rushing last season. And these two receivers, you could not ask for a better duo for a rookie quarterback. Two proven guys. DJ Moore, still in his prime. We saw all the great things he did with Justin Fields last year. And Keenan Allen, maybe not in his prime, but maybe a Hall of Fame wide receiver that has had a great 12-year career with the Chargers, and the Bears just traded for him this offseason. And Cole Kmet, we've seen him do a lot of great things as well, but it's really about these two receivers for Chicago. This will be the first time that a top 5 quarterback will have two receivers coming off of 1,200-yard seasons for the first time in NFL history. So Caleb Williams is set up perfect for a great rookie year, and he is ready to bring some more wins to Chicago, and he's already seen what this fan base can be if he can bring a winner to Soldier Field.
Chicago's a place that I've heard that they love ball, which is really exciting for me and something that I'm looking forward to and embracing. Like I said, the fans and community. Really excited if that's the place and you know, that's the city to, you know, light up and bring back and revive and make game days and everything really, really fun and enjoyable.
I just hope that Bears fan right there is able to have some more to cheer about with Caleb Williams coming to town. This is a fan base that's really starved for high quarterback play, especially in a league that's, you know, run through offense and the passing game.
Yeah, I've seen that fan many a times at Soldier Field covering games over the years. He shows up on all the broadcasts.
He deserves it.
Yeah, a lot of effort right there. And the fans, they are hungry for a quarterback like this. They haven't had one pretty much ever. I mean, we talked about, you know, Jay Cutler, Jim McMahon. Oh, you know, you got to keep going way back to Sid Luckman to get that true, like, leader of the NFL in terms of, like, stats and all that. So
never a good sign when you see black and white highlights.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
And this is just an exciting era for the Chicago Bears right now. I mean, they have, you know, potentially a new stadium on the horizon, whether it ends up being in Arlington Heights or on the lakefront. We saw some of those renderings yesterday of what it could be on the lakefront. To go couple that with 2 top 10 picks, I mean, there's a lot of energy and momentum around the Bears franchise right now.
Yeah, there really is. And Josh, I mean, just tell me about you know, your excitement for the future of this team. What is it you think that this team really needs to do to, you know, keep building from here? Obviously, the first overall pick seems pretty solidified, but what is it you want to see from them, you know, moving, you know, down the list through this draft?
Yeah, obviously there's plenty of options. It's a really deeply loaded wide receiver class this year, so there's going to be an option to give him a third really good receiver to come into that offense. But at the same time, the game starts in the trenches. So offensive line, defensive line, some good tackles on the offensive line, some good edge rushers on defense. But the thing that really excites me most about Caleb Williams that we haven't really mentioned is, you know, he's a really big Aaron Rodgers guy. And I was tormented through my entire childhood, my entire life by Aaron Rodgers. But I like the fact that he studied his film. He likes the way he plays, and you can kind of see that in Caleb Williams' game. You know, he can escape the pocket. He has great arm angles when he's throwing the ball. So, you know, I think any situation that Caleb Williams is going to come into, he's going to produce, and he has all the weapons to do so. So it's really just about polishing this roster and really finishing things out with the 9th pick.
Yeah, and Williams has that confidence, that swagger, that kind of air about him that, you know, makes people believe that he can get the job done and that he is a great leader, you know, despite being a kid that's coming out of college, coming into a locker room full of NFL players and veterans. He's going to have to learn how to lead right away.
Yeah, and he's already got some growing pains after his last year at USC. A lot of there was some downward trends for Williams during that time. He had a bad offensive line, and he struggled in his final year of college. That Notre Dame game in particular, he did really struggle. But it's the ceiling of this guy when he's, you know, outside of the pocket making plays. That's where he really shines, and that shows all the potential that he really has.
Yeah, and they keep referring to Patrick Mahomes as a comparison for him. The Bears, of course, had a chance to draft Patrick Mahomes just a few years ago. They took Mitch Trubisky, traded up one spot to get Trubisky in that draft as well. So we've seen a lot of quarterbacks come and go over the years. And, well, it looks like the Chicago Bears they are getting ready to take their draft pick of the future here. We still got a few minutes left on the clock for the Bears. The pick looks like it's coming in, but you can see Caleb Williams just hyped to be there at the draft in Detroit. A lot of the Lions on hand. I saw Barry Sanders there as well, making an appearance. So there's just a lot of energy, and especially this draft being in the Midwest, just a short drive for a lot of Bears fans.
And a lot of the Bears fans do deserve this too. Seeing a lot of negative comments towards the Bears in our Facebook section right now. Jacob here saying
a lot of Packers fans in our area too.
A lot of Packers fans. I guess it could be them because I'm seeing Bears do not develop QBs at all, and I guess that is true as of right now, but they haven't had the best quarterbacks to develop. So pretty soon here it says the pick is in. The Bears should have their quarterback of the future here real soon.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. Like I said, this is a new era that has been ushered in. It's taken a couple years now to try and strip this thing down and rebuild it up. They've got some good building blocks in place, some good pieces that are coming into town that they just acquired this offseason, that they've acquired over the past few years. And like you said, DJ Moore, I mean, a 1,300 yard season last year, and he had Justin Fields throwing to him. Now he's going to have Caleb Williams throwing to him. It's official. The Chicago Bears, with the #1 pick in the 2024 draft, taking Caleb Williams out of USC.
After all the talk about Caleb Williams, the Bears, early on, should they keep Fields, should they not? It is finally solidified. Draft season could be a little long towards the end.
Yeah.
There's rumors going around all the way up to right when the Super Bowl ends, draft talk starts, and with the Bears being first overall, there was no shortage of rumors. But, I mean, just take me through where you guys are at. You got your guy, and Bears have their QB of the future.
Yeah, after looking through so many mock drafts, it seemed like everyone had Caleb Williams at the top, and well, they were right. He's considered that generational prospect, and now the Bears have their guy for the future, and this is a new moment, something I've never felt before as a Bears fan. Like, we had coworkers a couple years ago when they drafted Fields that were super excited. I wasn't quite there with that one, but I'm kind of feeling it right now.
With the potential that he has, you can just see it, just highlights can be a little misleading, but there's plenty where you've seen him do things that other quarterbacks just don't do. You didn't see Mitch Trubisky making these plays. You did not see Justin Fields making some of the plays that Caleb Williams can make. And now for the Bears, it's all about figuring out what they're going to do next with pick #9. There's still tons of talent in this draft. You got receivers, you got the trade back option, you got a lot of ways that this can go.
Yeah, Josh, how you feeling right now? As someone who's grown up quarterback starved, not quite as long as I have, but how about yourself?
No, I've felt it through past generations of Bears fans in my family, so I get it. But feeling great, but we're starting to transition into this 9th pick. A lot of names on the board. So obviously you have a top wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. He might not be there for the Bears. It would probably have to be a situation in which the Bears trade up. So as Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham were saying in kind of their last season press conference, it's just going to be depending on what the other teams do in the draft. So the Marvin Harrison Jr. is out there potentially for a trade up, but more towards the 9 spot, I'm looking at Rome Odunze out of Washington, a wide receiver, and then also Malik Neighbors out of LSU. He might go a little bit earlier, but I got a chance to see him at Mizzou. I actually called a play-by-play game with the Missouri Tigers against the LSU Tigers, and he was lights out all over the field. But there's also been a lot of talks of a trade down from the 9th spot. Maybe a few picks down, maybe a little bit later in the draft. But another option there is Brian Thomas Jr., another wide receiver out of LSU, really good vertical threat. And the thing is, Keenan Allen, he's been producing, but he is getting a little bit older. So maybe grow a wide receiver under him and kind of have that idea going on. But then there's a lot of offensive tackles, some defensive linemen that can still be taken in this position as we move forward. We got a little bit of time, though.
Yeah, a lot of different scenarios. It all depends kind of how this whole thing shakes out between picks 2 and 8. Expecting a few more quarterbacks here to come.
Should be a lot of quarterbacks going off the board, and I do really like the trade back option for the Bears. Ryan Poles has shown in back-to-back years now he likes to trade pick for players. Before, we saw him do it with Chase Claypool, saw him do it last year to get Montez Sweat from Washington.
And as we just told you, Caleb Williams drafted number 1 overall by the Chicago Bears. There's the video for you right there of the moment. He's hugging all of his loved ones, his friends and family there with him in Detroit, and made his way up to the stage to shake hands with the commissioner. Got to stop off and see some of his buddies as well on the way up to the stage. But just a great moment, a life-changing moment for him as well. That's kind of the other cool part about draft day, just seeing just the way that these guys have put in so much work throughout all their lives and seeing that pay off with a big moment like getting drafted at all, but number 1 overall. I mean, it's kind of different now because a lot of these college guys are getting paid in some manner or another, him more than others, but neat to see that for him as well.
It is, and he's been all in on going to the Bears. You hear him talk in interviews about how much he loves Chicago and the Chicago fans, and I think it was Robert Griffin III had a tweet about how he was telling Caleb Williams he shouldn't play for Chicago.
Right.
He should wait and go somewhere else, and he immediately quote tweeted him and said that he wants whoever wants him. So he has been all about going to Chicago. He's embraced it, and can't wait to see how he embraces the city once he's finally here and he gets out of Detroit.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be the number 1 overall pick, right?
Can't complain about that. Yeah.
And the Bears, as we mentioned, do have another selection coming up soon in the top 10. This is their own pick. This first pick overall was the Panthers pick that they got in the DJ Moore trade when the Bears had the number 1 overall pick last year, traded out of that spot, and we saw what the Panthers did with that. Didn't quite work out the first year. Bryce Young still got a lot of football left in him, though. I'm sure we'll see some good things out of him in the years to come, depending on what the Panthers can do around him. But that 9th pick, like we mentioned, a lot of options on the table. Do they go wide receiver? Do they go tight end with Brock Bowers? Do they go with one of the linemen? Do they go D-line? I mean, there's so many options and trading down because they only have 4 draft picks in this draft. Not a lot of picks, but sometimes you want quality over quantity, I guess.
Yeah, and he gets to make it. Ryan Poles gets to make that decision. Does he want to go with the quality or the quantity? I think that he should go for the quantity because you could always package that for a different player. This could set you up for the next draft or the draft after that. You never know. There's always teams that are going to need draft picks. So if you have that, it's a valuable asset for Ryan Poles. But really just depends on how all the pieces are falling early on in the draft, and that's what Poles said a couple days ago.
Yeah,
it's hard to answer right now. I think as the draft unfolds, there's going to be some indicators that kind of start to educate us on how we need to move, whatever we need to do to kind of accomplish what we're setting out to do and improve our football team.
And the Commanders pick is in now, so now we'll really get to see what, just what Poles was talking about how things shake out. You really expect it to go quarterback here at pick number 2 with Washington picking. You've seen a lot of people talk about Jaden Daniels, seen a lot of talk about North Carolina's Drake May, and I really think it will be quarterback at 2, quarterback at 3, and then there's other teams, J.J. McCarthy linked to the Giants, and that could be a big advantage for the Bears. The more quarterbacks that get off the board now, that just leaves more skilled position players just waiting for them.
Yeah, you hear teams like the Vikings wanted to trade up as well and draft a quarterback. There's all kinds of scenarios that can play out here depending on just how hungry a team is to move up and get their guy or get a guy, even if it's not the one that they wanted in the first place. We see this run on quarterbacks every year in the draft. People getting drafted higher than maybe they should, and teams are just trying to, throw a dart at the board and hope that they hit the bullseye with it.
What would be the bullseye for you guys? The dream picks at 9. We'll start with you, Josh. What would be your favorite pick at 9? Say, any player that you want is available. Who would you want the Bears to go with?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's not going to be available at 9, but Marvin Harrison Jr., he's probably the second best player in this draft. So I already kind of talked about maybe a little bit of a trade up if those quarterbacks do start falling off the board. But Washington wide receiver Rome Odunze, he's my guy at 9. I'd also like to see Malik Neighbors maybe, but I think he's going to go before that. Rome Odunze, he's being compared to Devontae Adams. He's a great route runner. He was on a stellar offense last year. So that's where my mind is set at right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, actually, Josh. Rome Odunze, I feel like just hearing a lot about his traits and just his competitive nature. I think he could bring a lot to the wide receiver room. We mentioned Keenan Allen. He's in the final year of his contract. And, you want a young receiver to come up and be able to grow with Williams. And, they were on the flight together to Detroit. We saw those pictures that they were posting on social media. So maybe there's a little connection there. A couple of Pac-12 guys coming out to the Midwest and starting to put on a show that Bears fans have never seen before.
Yeah, that'd be a very different Monsters of the Midway if they're able to pull that off, switch it to the offensive side. You think about it, in my lifetime, and Josh is the only real offense I could remember being that explosive and exciting was those Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey years. It'd be nice to see, a new wave of offense finally come to Chicago because it's been too long.
Yeah, it has been way too long since there's been an explosive offense, a couple of big time threats at wide receiver and a good tight end in the mix as well. Not sure if any of those top three receivers will get there to 9. Kind of depends how this draft shakes out, but they could use a lot on the D-line and O-line as well. So I'd be happy with bolstering those two.
Yeah, never wrong with getting a little depth on the defensive line as well. And Jaden Daniels did just go. He is going to Washington at pick number 2. So that is another quarterback off the board. This is going to be a very quarterback-heavy draft. Can't wait to see what that first trade is. It could be the Bears being involved in it, or it could be a team moving up. Be very interesting to monitor what the Vikings do, who are in desperate need of a quarterback right now as well.
And the Green Bay Packers, we want to touch on them too for all you Packers fans that might be watching. They're got to wait a little bit while before they get to pick number 25 later in the first round. So that's going to be a little bit later into the night. I'm sure you'll get more into them later tonight and throughout the weekend as they start to make their picks, because they've got a few pretty decent draft picks lined up here over the next couple of days.
They do. They have the draft capital, and this is a team that always kind of builds through the draft. And they already have their quarterback, it looks like. It didn't take them long to do it again and get their guy again. Jordan Love, trying to build a contender around him. They have a lot of ways they could go, but they are in a great spot the way that roster is set up right now. I think they do need some defensive help, but going to the divisional round in the first year Jordan Love starting, that's got to give Bears fans a little bit of nightmares. I'm glad that Caleb Williams is here to kind of help that. And that really could be, people are always talking the next Brady, the next Manning, the next rivalry matchup. There's a chance it could be Williams and Jordan Love.
Wouldn't that be fun if the Bears and Packers became like an actual rivalry again, where they started beating each other like once in a while? I mean, it's been far too long that it's been trending downward for the Bears and upward for the Packers. So, I remember when the Bears led the all-time series, and now they're at a big deficit in that all-time head-to-head series, the oldest in the NFL.
Yeah, we've seen it on Sunday Night Football all the time, that matchup. I don't know how many times it's been a one-score game by the end of it, but it hasn't been many times. So if we could actually get that rivalry back, give it a reason to be on Sunday Night Football besides just the two names.
Khalil Mack game was the wild one where
they ended up losing it.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of fun, and it looks like the Patriots are still on the clock at number 3. There was a lot of talk about the Patriots trading back, but they are also in need of a quarterback, so I would assume that they hold on to this one, and Drake May is off the board. Another quarterback goes. It says that the pick is in, so we'll see where they end up, but a lot of pieces that are still left to fall in this draft.
Yeah, just looking forward to just seeing how everything shakes out, and then everyone gets into rookie camp within just a couple of weeks from now, and you get to see him actually on the field.
Yep, right around the corner. Going to be really exciting. Going to be exciting to hear from Williams officially as a Bear too, and hear about Ryan Poles. He was playing it coy all week about how he can't reveal who he's going to pick, and it's a big mystery. So it'd be nice to actually hear from these guys now that they have their team. They know they don't have to hide anything.
Yeah, they will be talking tonight. Caleb Williams scheduled to talk in about a half hour or so. Ryan Poles will be talking a little bit later into the night after the other pick is made. So we'll have to wait and see what they have to say, and just how much of a slam dunk when they knew this was going to officially be the pick. If they knew right when the season was over, if they took his trip to Chicago and the dinner out with the teammates and everything.
And we're going to have it all covered coming up tonight in sports at 10 o'clock. A really exciting time for the Bears. Exciting for the Packers, too, as they are already a roster set up to succeed. Just one of the more fun nights in professional sports, and we'll have everything covered. And I don't know if either of you guys have any final thoughts before we get out of here for, big night for the Bears.
Yeah, I think it's just a, exciting time. We were talking about it, just this new era for the Bears franchise. They've been around for over 100 years now, and just seeing a new era of excitement that, maybe my son will get to see a competitive Bears team that's competing for Super Bowls. They won the Super Bowl when I was, I think I just turned 4 years old when they won. So it's been quite a while, guys.
Yeah, my biggest thing on it is, I just want to see the Bears finally hit a 4,000-yard passer. The great thing about Justin Fields was he could run so specially, but Caleb Williams, he really brings a big vertical threat. He can find pretty much everybody on the field. So I just want to see that, and at the end of the day, we all want to see competitive football. And with Ryan Poles coming in this new era of him as a general manager, the big thing is, we want to see sustained success. You look at the 1985 Bears or some teams in Chicago that have won a championship with great rosters, and then the next year, that sustained success, just didn't stay there. So I think Ryan Poles has the right idea going into everything. He's drafted an offensive tackle last year. He's got his quarterback now. The roster's set up, and now it's just time to be wise with the money and hopefully just sustain success for a lot of years.
Some exciting times, and again, we will have all of it covered coming up tonight on 13 WREX, 13 at News at 10. Thank you so much for joining us. For Derek Bain and for Josh Schumann, this has been the 13 WREX Draft Show, and here's one last look at the future of the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, thank you again for joining us.